Welcome back to Making Money Matter, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson, and I've asked Peter Ledwidge. He's the founder and managing director of Mako Gold. The ASX code is MKG, and they've got projects in West Africa, which is a brilliant place to go looking for gold. But they've also got a manganese project and a little bit of a look into the lithium space as well. So first up, welcome for the first time to Peter Ledwidge from Mako Gold. Nice to see you, Peter.
Yeah, likewise. Maybe that was a Freudian slip. Make some gold. Is that what you were trying to say?
No, Mako Gold shark. You know, there was a shark attack in Sydney in Elizabeth Bay a couple of days ago.
I saw that.
Yeah, it's all about the sharks, but this is not about sharks. It's about gold, manganese, lithium. But before I get into that, a few years ago, one of the things that Rick Rule, who most people would know, said to me was always look at management. Have a look at who's behind the company, why they're there. And as an investor, that's what we should be looking at. So first up, given it's your first time here on the channel, who are you, Peter? What's your credentials? And why should we be following you and potentially looking at what you're doing?
Well, first and foremost, I'm a geologist with well over 30 years experience, probably 20 years boots on the ground. So that gives me pretty good way of evaluating projects. I started Mako Gold after our success with Orbis Gold, and so we started Mako in 2015, listed in 2018, and it's. I won't hide it, the last couple of years have been a bit of a slog with the bad markets, but we have made incredible progress since our listing. And where we're going with this is, trying to add some ounces to what we already have and then advance the other projects.
Okay, so 30 years as a geologist. Now, I think I said in the beginning, you're the founder of Mako Gold. So how did you put this company together and why these particular projects? Have you worked in the area before? I know Orbis Gold were in this area, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. So with Orbis, we were in Burkina Faso, and we made 3 discoveries, including the discovery on the Bungu mine, which was 2 million ounces, 3.4 grams per ton. So that was the catalyst for the takeover by a Canadian company. So when you have success and you lose your job, right? And so that's when I decided, geez, I want to start my own company. I've been working in this business, as I said, well over 30 years. I've seen a lot of different ways that different companies operate, and I thought I'd just kind of cherry pick, the best part from all of them and see if we can make this work. And it's working really well. We've made, since founding Mako Gold, we've made 2 gold discoveries, one in Burkina, which we sold a couple of years ago because of, we didn't want to be there as a small junior. The security situation was a little difficult. I'm not criticizing the producers because they're having a great day. And then I always wanted to focus on Cote d'Ivoire because I viewed Cote d'Ivoire as what Burkina was about 15, 20 years ago. So all our projects are in Cote d'Ivoire, which is a safe jurisdiction.
Sorry to interrupt you. What do you mean by it's Cote d'Ivoire is where Burkina Faso was 15 years ago? What do you mean by that?
I mean the situation. So when I first went to, myself and Anne, the GM exploration, we first went to Burkina Faso and Mali in the mid 90s. Then we went back for Orbis in 2009 and at that time, it was just hopping. Anybody could, peg a piece of moose pasture and their share price would go through the roof. And really, Burkina's had like a lot of success. 10 new mines went into production in 10 years. And Cote d'Ivoire was largely underexplored because they were doing fine. They're huge agricultural country. They got oil production and so on. So they weren't paying too much attention to the gold. And when the new president came in, he kind of realized, hey, there's some money to be made here. And then since then, it's been the destination of choice for anybody targeting new work in West Africa.
Well, speaking of that, and presidents and jurisdictions, etc., from I guess, an investor point of view, some people might not know very much about Cote d'Ivoire. So, from a government supportive, is it a good place to work? Is it safe and a good jurisdiction?
Yeah, it is. It's a very supportive administration, and part of the reason for that is, you know, uh, similar to a lot of West African countries, the government once you start mining, they get a 10% free carry, and so that means that as soon as you discover something, they're very helpful. They roll out the red carpet for you, and they want to see you put that mine into production.
Okay.
So very supportive government. And in addition to that, there's the security issues in some of the other countries surrounding Cote d'Ivoire. But Cote d'Ivoire is other than Ghana, is the wealthiest country in West Africa. Therefore, they have a well-armed military and a well-armed police, well-financed, I should say. And because of that, it's not a target for that terrorist
The
activity that you
nasties.
see in other countries. Yeah, you have I mean, it's sad, when you see it happen in some of those countries. But as I said, the operating mines, can handle it. But for small junior, it's just too difficult. And the prospectivity in Cote d'Ivoire is amazing. It's hasn't been, explored and there was a little bit of exploration, but for example, our Korogo project, where we made our manganese discovery, there had been absolutely no previous exploration on that project. You try to find something like that around Kalgoorlie or something like that, and good luck.
Yeah, not going to happen. I'm going to get onto the manganese in a minute because a lot of people know I'm that gold lady. So I want to start, if you wouldn't mind, Peter, on your flagship project, which is, I think, do you call it the Napie Gold project?
Napie.
Napie.
Yep.
I knew I'd get it wrong, ladies and gentlemen. Never mind.
That's
I'm not
okay.
good with all these names. I don't know where they come up with these names. But that's where you started. Talk to us about what you've done and where you're going, because I'm talking to you in February 2024. Don't know what happened to January. I'm talking to you in February. What are you going to be doing? Where have you come from, and what's to look forward to in 24?
Yeah, so basically we picked up that project when we were looking to do our IPO. And because I've been working in that part of the world for a long time, I know who's got what for permits and at what stage and so on. So we did a joint venture with Perseus Mining, a very successful West African miner. And it was a project that they didn't have really a mandate to work on at the time. They were, focusing their efforts on putting Sisanga into production, which they did quite nicely, and then moved on from there to Yaouré. And so basically, they had done all the work that made it ready, drill ready. There was two previous RC drill holes on the project from the precursor to Perseus, and both had gold in them. So they did the soil sampling, the airborne geophysics, a whole bunch of auger drilling, some not air core. Anyway, like air core, I can't think of it right now.
That's all right. That's
And when I looked at it, we signed NDA with them, looked at that, and it just that's exactly what we need. And then as soon as we started drilling it, a month after listing, we had some really nice hits. And then since then, we've moved on to getting our main resource in 2022, and that's 868,000 ounces, 1.2 grams per ton. So the next milestone really is getting the resource up to 2 million ounces,
okay.
and that'll just take more drilling. And once we get to 2 million ounces, that's when we figure it's economic, and then that's when we'd start scoping study and things like that.
Is this shallow? You said 868,000 ounces at 1.2 grams per ton. Is it fairly shallow? How deep is your drilling been going?
Yeah, it's very shallow. I mean, we've done a little bit of deeper drilling down to 450 meters, and the gold was still there, so that's
wow.
good to know. And but really, the resource averages to about 120, 150 meters, which when you think about, the average resources in West Africa that come out lately, you're looking at about the 300-meter mark.
Mm.
So because we've got 30 kilometers of strike length on the fault, why waste money doing deep holes when you can, do shallow holes for a lot less money? And in addition to that, more of it is going to likely fit into your pit shell when you convert it, into a pit shell.
So what are you going to be doing to go from 868 to 2 million, and what sort of time frame? I mean, I know it's mining, ladies and gentlemen. You can't exactly put exact timelines on this sort of thing, but I want to find out what you're doing to, I guess, add value in 24 to this project.
Yep. So short term, what we're doing right now is since December, and it's ongoing. Our geology teams have been mapping on the ground, particularly on the western part of the permit, the western contact between the greenstone and granite, which is a really good place to look. Up to now, everything that we've found on our resource has been on the eastern contact of the greenstone and sediments. So, we did a little bit of drilling. I mean, just a few holes, probably half a dozen on the western contact. And, we have one hole that had 1 meter, 45 grams per ton. There's a deep artisanal mining site, the deepest on the project, which is reminiscent of the early photos of Tieto.
Yes. Okay.
And so that's where we're focusing on now. And we've been doing a lot of rock chip sampling. That there'll be an announcement coming out shortly about the results of those rock chip samples. When we're ready to put it out, and so we think that's a high grade zone. So I mentioned that the grade is 1.2 grams per ton. So you need 2 million ounces to make that economic. But if we can find some high grade on the western contact, well, then that really changes the game, and where you don't need as many ounces to make something economic.
Well, from my point of view, in doing my research before we started chatting, one of the things I looked at was board management, and I noticed that you've got an advisory and exploration team, and bingo, there's Kangan Wang. Now, Kangan was the former managing director of Tieto, which is now being taken over and made a number of people very happy. Does he know this area very well? What's the reason or the rationale for having him on your advisory / exploration board?
Yeah, okay. So I should clarify, that hasn't been finalized yet. We signed a deal. We're doing our due diligence on. Basically, they have a permit just north of Napie, so it's for us. We're looking at consolidating the area. I've already done a field visit.
So is this the Goldridge Resources?
It is. So
got it.
So we still have to finalize that, and we're still working on the due diligence,
Okay.
but it's kind of a no-brainer. That likely wouldn't be a standalone project, and for us it would be a good addition. So on Napie, because we've got 30 kilometers of strike length, and we've done enough drilling, rock chip sampling, and core drilling, and whatnot in various areas and in very small amounts, other than a resource, and we've got 17 targets on outside of the resource right now, and so we think that we can get 2, 3, 4 million ounces on the Napie project, but if we do that deal with Goldridge, that's a potential for possibly another 1 million ounces, and that would give us 50 kilometers of strike length. So then all of a sudden, we've got like a district play, and that can only be good for everyone. So obviously that would be good for Goldridge as well, and I've known Kagan for a number of years, basically since he started Tieto, and I've always liked what he's done. He's always liked what we've done, and that would be a good marriage sort of thing.
I think so, because you've got the sort of the geology, and he's got more of the geotech engineering side, and he knows how to bring these things forward. But is it pretty? I don't want to say is it a done deal, but it makes sense to do this, and it seems to me would be good for shareholders going forward, of which you are a reasonable size shareholder in the company as well. And I think that's important to point out to people as well, because in my opinion, unless you've got skin in the game, that's a warning bell for me. But you've got quite a bit of skin in the game, don't you?
I do. I personally, Anne and I personally own 2% of the company, and that's I want to make that work. Always shoot for success, no matter what I do. And success to me is all shareholders, walking away with a big smile on their face, including me.
Well, you said it before, and I'll have to bring it up now. It's been a bit of a testy time, not just for you. For a number, the market has been pretty bloody awful. But what makes you confident that things going forward will be much stronger for Mako?
Well, just recently, this past week, I did an interview with Barry Fitzgerald, who everybody knows, and that was very well received. He pretty well hit the nail on the head, and said, "Look at this company; it's crazy. They're valued at $6 an ounce, and what's the average? And probably somewhere $40 an ounce or more." And
yeah, 40 to 50. Yep.
And so, I think we've seen our market cap go up recently, along with our share price, obviously. And I think what's happening is because some of the other commodities have fallen out of favor overnight, namely lithium and cobalt, amongst some others, that there's investors that are looking for, the next place sort of thing. And, as an investor myself in a whole bunch of other things outside of Mako, that's what I look for. I look for, something that's undervalued with good management. And I think we have pretty good management. So really, it's, and then all the analysts are all saying that, the price of gold's already up there, but the interest in investing in gold hasn't returned quite yet.
I know there's an absolute disconnect, and it's funny. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, not investing advice. Just go and do your own homework. And as I've said before, read the quarterlies. Go and read Mako Gold's quarterly. Find out what they're doing. Reach out to Peter and ask him the questions like I'm asking him. But I think one of the things I'm looking at is the gold price is good, ladies and gentlemen. And Peter just said it very well. Barry Fitz just said their value, the value of their gold in ground is, what is it for discovery, is $7 an ounce. Is that right?
Yeah.
6 or 7.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
At the time of doing the interview, it's a little bit more now, because we've come up about 30% since he pointed out to the investment community that there might be something there.
Yeah, and I think it's important, as I say, for people to do their own due diligence. But for some reason, I think the markets, maybe you haven't been talking enough, Peter, but maybe the market's just not realizing. But Cote d'Ivoire is a great place to work. And speaking of that, I'm just going to go off gold for a moment, if I could, because you literally stumbled, if you're probably not quite the right word, but you've come across a manganese project. Now, I'd like to know where you found this, and is it going to take your eye off the flagship project? Talk to us about this manganese.
Yeah, so when we were on the ground last year, or late the year before, I think, there was myself, Anne, and our chief geologist, and then some other geos, and on our other project, the Corogo project, and we were looking at the potential for gold, looking for quartz veins, and all the indices that you should be looking for. There's not a whole lot of outcrop on some of these projects, but you do what you can. And we noticed there was a whole lot of pyrolusite on the ground. So pyrolusite,
What was
for those, pyrolusite, which is a manganese ore.
Oh.
And it's just like black as black. It almost looks like coal, and except it's got a real sheen to it. And so, yeah, we didn't give it too much thought, and just because we're in one small area. And then as our chief geo, and Anne was over there again, a few months later, and then they called me and they say, well, there's quite a bit of this stuff, and I say, define quite a bit. And so they did a little bit of mapping, and it's just like there was several kilometers of it. So we did a quick rock chip sampling program, 22 rock chips. Like it took about one crew 3 days, so good on them because that's like a tall order. And then all the rock chips, came back with values over 20% manganese. So shortly after that, we did a very short RC drill program. And so it was 10 holes, 50 meters deep each. And that's just a test to make sure that it's not just a surface expression sort of thing. And basically, between all the work we've done, we outlined 2 zones that are 7 kilometers long each, and 1 to 300 meters wide. And keep in mind, there was only 10 holes in that, and all but 2 holes hit manganese. And we think the 2 holes that didn't hit is because, unlike here in Australia, where it's flat lying, manganese in shales, there it's like a vertical to subvertical. So I think it was dipping the opposite direction. But 2 of the holes ended in manganese mineralization, and so 2 of the holes were basically mineralized from top to bottom, other than 2 small areas of 3 to 4 meters or something, and with results 10-15% manganese. So if you compare that to the companies that are working here in Australia, Firebird, Black Canyon, Element 25, they all have a 10 to 15% deposit.
Okay.
And then through simple beneficiation, which is kind of like the sorters they use at the recycling depots, they can get it up to 30%. So that's what we're just about to start right now, actually, is a metallurgical test on that. To see if we can get it up to 30%. And if we do, then that's a beauty, because there's 4 operating manganese mines in the country, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're just digging it out the ground, doing some simple beneficiation, loading it on a truck, and then loading it on a ship, and away it goes for the steel market, because you can't make steel without manganese.
Is that right?
Yeah, it's an alloy that is used for smelting steel, and if you don't use it, I'm not a metallurgist, so I'm not going to talk about it, but I just know that you can't make
needed in steel
manganese without it.
production.
Yeah, and then down the road, like companies like Element 25, are doing is, they've done a lot more complex metallurgy for the EV space to make manganese sulfate for the EV space. And the metallurgy on that takes a bit longer, and then you end up with a powder that goes into batteries. And the reason that's important is a new battery has just come out that in an electric car right now, you get about 500 kilometers out of a charge. With this new battery, you get about 1,000 kilometers, and it uses a lot of manganese. It doesn't replace lithium, but it doesn't use cobalt. And so that's something that we can store in the back shelf for a little while, because right now the EV space is not hopping, and really our focus is on the gold project.
Yeah. So we're running out of time, Peter. It's been really interesting to hear what you're going to say, and I do think that people need to understand, as Barry Fitz has said, that the valuation is completely disconnected to what you've got. So this year is all about growing that resource, getting it up to 2 million ounces. And I think it's important to point out that operating in Cote d'Ivoire is very cost effective. In other words, your money can go a long way. Anything else that I haven't covered before I'm going to ask you to wrap it up? Anything else?
No, I think that's it. Other than, we've got an application for a lithium permit, and it's
I don't want to talk about lithium at the moment.
That's the EV space again. So, but really, right now, focusing on getting that rock chip sampling done, and then from now we can plan some targets for drilling, and with it in mind, I will be targeting high grade gold. So just stay tuned for developments along the way.
And I think it's one last thing that I would say is, on the corporate side, you've kept it fairly tight from shares, and if I can find it, how many shares have you got on issue?
Oh, we got about 660 million,
Okay.
and we're doing quite well compared to some of the other companies that have had 2 or 3 consolidations, and so yeah, we keep that in mind, but like any junior, you got to raise money, and we recently did a capital raise. So when people see our quarterly, don't panic. It says we got $800,000 in the bank at the end of December, but since then we've done a $2 million capital raise. The tranche 2 should be coming in through in February, and then we're currently in the middle of a $500,000 SPP to keep our current shareholders happy as well.
Speaking of that SPP, if you wouldn't mind, when does that's open now, is it?
It's open now and it closes February 15th.
Okay, current shareholders, share purchase plan, making sure. So if you're not aware of it and you are a shareholder, reach out to Mako and get involved in that. Peter, we've run out of time. Give me 3 reasons why people should sit up and take notice of Mako Gold right now.
Well, one of them is the chronic under evaluation, and every CEO will tell you they're undervalued. We think.
I thought I told you not to say that.
Sorry. The EV, the gold in the ground compared to other companies.
Yeah.
Our track record. We've made 3 gold discoveries. 2 of them to resource. 1 became a mine in West Africa. We made another one in Burkina that we sold to Norgold a few years ago. So we've since then made that discovery at Napie, Manganese discovery, and so we're a team that's done it before, and because I'm in lockstep with with the rest of the shareholders, I get a lot of shareholders saying, "Oh, the share price has gone down, and what are you doing about it?" Just, well, it's a bad market, and everybody's feeling the pain, but we are doing the right things, and because I have 2% of 600 out of all those shares, obviously I want to make it work. So I'm not just going to walk away from that, and I'm having fun doing it. So
yeah, and I think that's important. A couple of things to just mention to you that are listening out there. It is important. He's got skin in the game. That's always important. But a big tick for me is the fact that Peter and his partner and the team, they know West Africa better than most people, so a much better chance of success. So I wish you all the best for 2024. Come back on and tell us how you're going when we're further down into the year. But for now, Peter Ledwidge, Managing Director of Mako Gold, and as I said at the start, ASX code is MKG. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thanks, Jerry. My pleasure.